here we go. One more try on this one. Okay, this is Poland and their economic growth. And we're going to see what kind of results we get in the human domain compared to the results we get in the economic domain. So, kind of picking on Poland, they got a lot of attention recently. Here in the United States, anyway, on from the right group of people who because they're really big on economic growth, and they don't look at the other factors involved with economic growth. And so let's look at how that played out in Poland. Okay, they've been growing their economy. A lot of people were like, wow, look at how big their economy is getting, how great, and their new administration and so forth, a right administration. And so a lot of people on the right, they like that because they don't look at much else. There's just, if you follow the step work of body and emotions and mind, you can see another way that this plays out between the left and right. Maybe that'll be in another video, but why do people tend to go to the right or left? Well, we got a little bit of that here. Okay, but so the right loves Poland right now. They wish that the Poland administration would take over the United States administration. They think that would be fantastic. Everybody loves that big Polish guy there now. He looks like a tough guy, and we need some tough guys here in America apparently. Here we go. So here's something up like this. Okay, so this is Poland is doing well economically. We're going to look at that first. Yeah, why? Decelerating inflation, wage growth. They're doing very well. Their labor markets are functioning well. They got good employment rate, high social transfers and benefits. Their social system is working very well. I don't know how the right looks at that, right? Social welfare and stuff. But anyway, this is a report. These are just general news reports you can get anywhere on the internet. Okay, their personal consumption is up. GDP per capita really high, but you got to remember their population is fairly small. 38 million, 34 million something. So they get this really high GDP per capita, 70% above the EU average. Of course, you can't just throw out that statistic, right? People think that statistics mean things by themselves. That's the way the right people think. They think they can just throw out a statistic and that's going to give you some information, which it doesn't. The right doesn't know about contextualization. And they have that. There's an emotional reason for that as well, psychological. We'll get into that another time. Okay, after the fall of communism, both industry and agriculture became increasingly privatized. Okay, everybody in the West likes that. By the early 1990s, so I don't know, maybe that's, 40 years, maybe? Not sure when that fell exactly. Okay, but by the 1990s, more than half the Polish economy was in private ownership. 4/5 of Polish shops are privately owned. That's a very high amount. The privatization of larger enterprises was more complicated, and we will see that. Yeah, these larger enterprises, very hard to understand in terms of an economic role that these large enterprises play, right? I mean, this is more contextualization. This is a higher level of thinking and feeling, which most people don't have, obviously, right? We'll look at that, okay? Still heavily reliant, we've already looked at that a lot, actually. They're still heavily reliant on coal. That's a little problem for them. Their air pollution is really bad, and they we'll get into that more. Um, they really need to transition more towards sustainable energy sources, investments in modern energy infrastructure, the development of renewable energy sources they've been doing, and energy efficiency are key to ensuring the stability and security of the energy supply in Poland. Okay, that's an interesting indicator there. We're going to move on. Okay, other side. This is from a news outlet in Poland. Says a large and rapidly growing independent news source from Poland. It's called Notes from Poland. I believe it's nfp.org. And you can read all this. Lots of stuff on there, but you got, okay, here's the other side. Here's the downside of economic growth. Poland has been rated as the European Union's least green country in a new ranking that takes into account state of the environment, its effect on quality of life, and efforts by politicians and businesses and citizens to address climate issues. Sorry, not doing well there. They received a score, 1 out of 100. You know, we hope for 70, 80, right? Be nice if we got more. Okay, Poland only got a 34 out of 100 in this EU-funded study. So you can look, Notes for Poland. They were the lowest of 27 states in the EU. One of the reasons they state contributing little to the global funding for climate change interest, low amount of energy produced from renewables, however, that has increased 17%. That's significant. Industrial production increased at a higher rate, 25%. You know, we have to go back, contextualize this. You know, how I'm getting red here. I took some this niacin, so I probably look really funny, but it'll help to lighten up this video. Okay, contributes little to the global. Wait, I got that. Increased production, 25%. I don't know. I guess that's really significant because it's created all their conditions that we mentioned previously. 25% increase in production resulted in decelerating inflation, wage growth, good foundation in their labor markets, all those things. That they got all that at a 25% industrial production increase. Probably not only industrial. There are probably a lot of other places where their production increased, not just industrial. But see, we only have that marker. From them anyway. You'd have to look into what other sectors, and some reports, depending on the report, you can get, I think 8 or 12 different sectors of society, depending on how they, contextualize those. It's pretty interesting. I've got a little bit of that later, I think. But, okay, air quality among the lowest. 38 million citizens, 27,500 die each year from pollution. That could be a number of different things. It's not necessarily just air pollution. See how the context gets in there? Okay, that means there's other kinds of toxic waste, especially in those regions, more towards the Eastern Europe, Russia. Terrible, but anyway, let's see, sounds bad. Okay, 17% renewable, mostly from wind. Coal burning, another problem. Their coal burning restrictions were lifted 2 winters ago. The Russo-Ukrainian War was cited as the cause. That war has various dates. If you try to find out when did that war begin? According to one site on Wikipedia, first invasion was 27th of February 2014. It's been going on a while. So their air pollution, they may not have access to maybe gas or something. I don't know. Um, Another problem is Poland's loss of natural vegetation. That kind of sounds bad. Uh, they were, let's see, over the, how many countries? 27. They were fourth from the bottom, so they rated at 23 in terms of loss of natural vegetation. Natural vegetation. That means that a lot's been converting to agriculture and other things. So they've been converting a lot of natural vegetation to these other things. You know that's going to impact something. Poland, a lot of things, right? However, see, this looks opposite to that. We have Poland has a very good rating for its ecosystem, despite being very low on the list due to their loss of natural vegetation. They were able to successfully reintroduce bison, lynx, and wolf into their natural environment, removing them from the endangered plant and species, animal species list. So that's significant. Hey, they were working on that. So they're working on stuff. They really are. You got some problems, but you know they're also putting some money into these resources of endangered plants and animals. No doubt, they're looking at that. Why is that so important? Our ecosystem, their ecosystem. Maybe that will help slow down their loss of natural vegetation if they're interested in that. I just noted uh, there's some there's some charts, I believe, in the notes from Poland or some other places we'll get into. The top states for this overall green thing, what did we say, has to do with green quality of life, state of the environment, interest in climate issues. Okay, top states there: Malta, France, and Sweden. Sweden's got some problems, so see a little bit. Some rate Turkey as the least green country in the EU. I found this. American tourists report Poland is having a great economy. Americans that went to Poland, the ones that I read about, really enjoyed it. Very, they thought it was clean, very low homeless people. Didn't see much. Like one person said they happened to pass by a soup kitchen. There were only 12 people in line. That's not many compared to here. So anyway, their tourism apparently is up. It's doing well there, I guess. Okay, here we look at more of these human impact, human interest. What do I say? We've got communities, communication, human connection, human value of that stuff. So we got this. This I think is going to be a big emerging science. That's the social connection, science of social connection. We got this one website, socialprogress.org. So they have these 12 parameters that they look. Now you can look up every country on here and see where they score in terms of nutrition and basic medical care, water and sanitation, shelter, personal safety. Change the lighting on. Okay, so there's four in that area, and 4 access to basic knowledge, access to information and communications, health and wellness, environmental quality, and then there's 4 personal rights, personal freedom and choice, access to advanced education, and the last one, the lowest one on the list globally, inclusiveness, and it's very low. Top one, nutrition and basic medical care, at I think that's 84, 94 maybe. Shelter, very high across the world. Access to basic knowledge, high. Information communication, high. A lot of things score very well. Some of those are below average. Inclusiveness was the lowest one, 42.22. That's a global average. You can look country by country. So that means some countries are going to be very low on inclusiveness. That means people don't feel like they belong. Lowest, that's our largest global human interest, public interest characteristic as far as social connection. The sense of inclusiveness is the lowest indicator in terms of basic well-being. And if you look at things like that the earliest study started in 1935, that was the study on human development, I think it was called. I believe it's still going on. They thousands of people in that study, and all these parameters again, lots of parameters in that study, way more than this. So they're trying to look, well, what are the key factors to human development? Well, guess what? Humans. Yeah. Gee, what would be important for human development? Humans. It took us a long time to figure that out. A long time. Yeah. We had to do like 1930, a 90-year study. They probably figured it out somewhere in there, but yeah, no. Okay. So another group, so that was at socialprogress.org. Ton of information on there. There's another one. There's this Library for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. That one, okay, huge, massive database. That's the one thing about demographics today. Man, we got a lot of demographic information. You could get just massive amounts of data that way, in all kinds of ways, from satellite views of populations, and then correlate, what the population, how's the population functioning, just by its approximation to more green space, stuff like that. Huge studies, 40 million people in a study and stuff, big numbers, big problems. But okay, these are the indicators they use: social support, time spent in social interactions, satisfaction with personal relationships. Those are the main three. Okay, and again, you can look this up, country by country. How'd Poland do? Social support, people reported low. Time, I'm not sure how they. I didn't read too much of this, but I don't know how they got this. It was subjective, or I don't know. But time spent in social interactions, that sounds a little more objective. Well, still ranked low. Satisfaction with personal relationships, that was better in Poland. People happy with their personal relations, fairly average across the world. Poland doing okay. Social support was low. That means if you need something, right, in a social situation, like here in America, there was that Surgeon General's report last year, right? So that was on social connection and loneliness. Okay, so we're having a real epidemic low there in terms of social support, and so is Poland. Kind of interesting, in a lot of things, wealthier countries perform poorer in a lot of areas. Poorer countries perform better in a lot of areas. Okay, they also had a couple more things. They had the social connection inequality between groups, and the groups they have here: women and men, older and younger, lower education, higher education. So in that, people with higher education reported better access to social support. Older, younger, people feel less supported and often spend less time in social interactions than younger groups, older people. I forgot to write down the women and men. You can check that out at this OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They have a lot. This database has a ton of stuff on there, but you can look up. It also has these social connection markers and indicators and studies. OECD sounds bad. .org, I believe. Okay, let's see what else we got here. There's this other website I found, globalfinance.com. However, huge amounts of studies on there, including 23 indicators for peace factored together, country by country, the entire world. Okay, what are how peaceful are the countries? Well, uh, Poland was at the lower end of the EU. This is the area France did very poor at. France 67. U.S. came in at 131. We're way down there in terms of peace. But 23 indicators. You know, anyway, that's at Global Finance. Tons of stuff on there. Tons of studies. So let's see, what's next? I was trying to tie in. What we see. I don't know how well that describes an increase in economics and a decrease in human connection, but there's some data there. Um, Decide for yourself. So I was trying to see if big business was or small business were contributing to more of the decline of social connection. I was looking at if big business is a major driver of the economy and the social connection is low, I would think that big business was a contributor to that loss of social connection due to economics displacing human interest. And that human interest occurs on a lot of indicators, as we saw. Okay, so, but I couldn't find this out. Um, I looked at a handful of studies, very inconsistent. Is big business a bigger driver in the economy? Well, you got a lot of things you could consider. Look at jobs. Turn it. Big and small contribute equally to jobs? I don't know. That's what from the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation, which I looked into. Diverse editors, diverse founding members. What else they got? They got their advisory board. A lot of different people on there. And when you look at the sources of things, and you see a lot of different kinds of sources, different people, different educations, different backgrounds, that tends to be more representative of a view. When you have fewer diversity of views, no diversity in terms of education and background, they're all thinking fairly much the same, you're not going to get a very accurate portrayal, right? That's going to be biased, or what we call corroborative evidence. That gets a term thrown around a lot. Now, I don't think a lot of people use that very well. It's important to understand corroborative evidence is not evidence. That's a biased view where you're just using the same information across the board to say the same thing. You have to use lots of different sources of information to say something. It's like I did one video, I used the example of solving a crime, right? Hey, if you just have a weapon and a body, and then you're basing just all the information on the weapon, maybe where it came from, when these weapons were developed, who developed them, that's not going to help you solve the crime. You have to have a lot of different kinds of evidence from different places, and the more the better, right? No, you get a lot of information coming from these same sources, the same in-group source. But you can't do that. That's going to be biased, corroborative evidence. That's not evidence. Evidence means diverse source thinking, approaches. See, we don't do that very well in America here. Most people function very, very similarly. And that's pretty obvious. And then you got big groups. I've talked about that before a lot. Okay. These reports are so contradictory. we got from the innovation, information technology and innovation, uh, just directly they spoke to does has big business monopolized the U.S. economy? They're saying not really. It's market share held by the top has fell or remained flat from 2002 to 2012. I think for some of these areas, 2012. I know this sounds ridiculous, but some of this data we don't have going back that far. You would think this would be up to date every year. Apparently, this information is really complicated, difficult to do. And then they checked again. Big business profits are up. They're saying no, no. Actually, they're saying they fell slightly. They're saying big business is not contributing significantly to the economic condition, which, you know, you have various views on. Okay, we got this Chicago Booth Review source. Check that out. Very diverse, just like the above one. Okay, information technology source. Okay, which said big business is not contributing. Now here's another source, very diverse. You would think this would be an also a good, reliable source. Okay, they're saying that the economy dominated by the top 1% of companies increased to 90%. They're saying these top companies are 90% of the U.S. economy share, up from 70% in the 1930s. Okay, so they've been climbing. According to Chicago Booth Review, looks to be a great source. So did the information technology source, but they're completely opposite. Okay, now here's one. This was corroborative evidence. The McKinsey Global Institute. Okay, that source, you got a lot of homogeneity within that source. Similar people. Plus, I saw that their contributors, their business partners, and so forth, right? They are mostly in the domain of supporting and advising and consulting with big business. So of course they're in favor of big business, and of course they say that big business trends as the leaders in the economy. Quote, um, their studies look really good. I mean, I read a bit of reports from them. Great studies. I mean, innovative studies, really. I should have printed out that graph. They had a graph of the different sectors of society, like we were trying to figure out earlier with Poland, the different sector contributions of each one to the economy. Like it said, industrial production was up 25%, but there's a lot of other contributors there. And this the McKinsey Global Institute had some great ideas for how to contextualize the different contributors to the economy. You know, these things get complicated, and people think you just pick out a statistic from somewhere and that's going to be accurate. Not at all. That's not saying anything. You have to look at all these other conditions. As I mentioned before, the rightist people don't know about this. Things don't exist by themselves. They only exist in terms of their relationship to other things, right? Nothing has inherent existence, only has its relationship to by other things, you know. So, why don't some people recognize this? Well, they're more idealistic. You know, they're more singular in their thinking. They can't contextualize things in a number of different ways. That's a lack of diversity in thinking. We got that report. I did a little video on in terms of word and concept usage. We see two distinct groups there, right? How people use words and concepts. Interesting little report there. That was a percolation study report. Okay, so I couldn't really find out from the handful of studies and stuff that I read, which is not much. I mean, Sometimes that's what they call meta-study. Meta-study. Yeah, right. Mega data studies. They might go over 1,000 plus reports into a mega data analysis, and that's what you have to do. A handful of reports. I'm not going to say anything. 1,000. That's hard to do. I mean, that's done by bigger groups. You got a whole group of people just reading reports all the time. But anyway, if we look at this small and big business in terms of percolation theory, we would suspect that, get my head out, we would suspect that smaller business is going to result in more nodes of interaction in terms of economy and business. We're going to have lots of more smaller connections, more diverse connections. That's going to create a better network of interaction than big businesses. That's only a few nodes in that, right? We see from percolation theory, in terms of a network, the more smaller nodes you have, the better your network's going to function. The fewer nodes you have, that's going to reduce the effectiveness of the process, whatever it is. One people said in here, I read, the decision between going into big business or a small business was mostly political and political policy based. Okay, so we got certain people are supporting big business. We have other kinds of people who think and feel differently, supporting smaller businesses. Different groups process things differently. That's what makes them different, right? So anyway, let's see. I'm trying to keep this on. My thing's closing down here. Hey, there you are again. Okay, so I don't know. I still go with my original idea that more nodes is going to create a better network of functionality. So just from a theoretical standpoint, I would have to go with these small business is going to be better for human interest, right? And bigger business is going to be poorer for human interest. We didn't really find any. We'll have to look at a metadata study. I didn't search for that. You have to search mega data analysis, thousands studies on contributions of big business and small business to the economy. That would be the way. Might be able to get some information that way. Okay, bye.